Hey everyone, today I want to make a quick video on how to connect to the eWPT lab environment. So there's a viewer question on this one, and I just want to make a quick demo on how to do this. So here I am in the eWPT course materials, and actually the first thing I'm going to do that I always like to do when I'm starting a new certification is make a new folder on my home directory here. So you can see that I have one for eWPT. I'm going to make a directory for the eWPT as well. eWPT, you can see this directory is now here. And usually what I do with these directories is I might store some notes in there, but I'll also store all of the OpenVPN lab packs, just so that everything is all organized. So when I'm looking at different certifications or jumping across labs, I know exactly where all those labs belong. So I'm going to go down here to the XSS lab because I think this is a good example. You can go to see details here, and this is kind of the format of the lab environment. When you first do this lab, you'll see the Start Lab button here instead of Resume, but because I've done this lab recently, I'm just have the Resume button instead. And what this is going to do is it's going to do two things. It's going to generate an OpenVPN connection pack, which we'll use to connect to their lab environment. And also it will generate your unique username and password for the lab environment. So here you can see the lab is now running. First thing we need to do is download this VPN file, and we want to save this file. Because we're downloading this through Firefox, it's going to be in our downloads folder. So now I'm just going to open my downloads folder, cut this from the downloads folder, go up a level, and put it into the eWPT things here so that all of my labs are all contained in this eWPT folder, just like this. I'm going to close that now and go back to my terminal. I'm going to do an ls and change directories to my eWPT directory. As you can see here, the cross-site scripting OpenVPN file is right here. All I need to do now is run the OpenVPN command as root to connect to the lab environment. So I'll do that by doing sudo OpenVPN, and cross-site scripting.ovpn is the name of the OpenVPN file. Press enter, and now it's going to prompt me for my Kali password. This is whatever you've set your root password up for. And here it's asking for the auth username, and this comes from the INE webpage right here. So these usernames and passwords are automatically generated for each individual lab. Just going to paste that in there, paste the password in there as well. And you'll see it's connecting to Hera. And when you are fully connected, you will see this initialization sequence completed. And now that we have this terminal connected to the lab environment, we want to keep this terminal running. You don't want to enter any commands in here. They're not going to work. This is just going to be running OpenVPN for the whole time. And so what I do now is I will either open a new tab or a brand new window. In this case, I'll just do a tab. And now you're going to actually run the commands for the lab, whatever it is that you're doing in this new tab, so that you do not interfere with your lab connection. Now, something that makes the Web Application Penetration Tester labs unique is that you're going to be navigating to these sites. Like, for example, this one is called info.xss.site. If I navigate to this site right now, it's going to go to a random website that's owned on the internet with this domain name. That is not what we want to have happen. Instead, we want to use the lab environment for our domain resolution. And what you need to do that is use this DNS configuration that's outlined in the lab, and it says that our target host should be 10.100.13.37. I think that is true of any of the labs that you're doing. This is usually the host. And we're going to add this entry into the etc resolv.conf file when we're on Linux, which is what we are on right now. So I'm going to go back to my terminal here. I'm going to go vim. This means that I want to edit a file. Actually, I need to do sudo vim. And then I'm going to edit the file resolv.conf. I need to enter my Kali password again to execute this as the root user. And now the best way to edit this configuration file is to add a new entry above what currently exists. What a lot of people do is they will try to delete what is already here. Say, for example, replace this 192.168.127.177 and replace it with the lab environment's IP address. You can do that, but the issue with that is that you'll only be able to resolve hosts that are in the lab environment. So for example, if we replace this IP address with the lab IP address, we will not be able to resolve external resources like google.com or ine.com. The best way to edit this, in my opinion, is to do an I, which means to insert in Vim. Go up here, and now we're going to just define a new name server. And the reason why this name server needs to be above the other one is that your computer is going to look at these in order when you're looking for a domain name. If we were to put this this IP address underneath the other one, it's going to look at the 192 address first, as opposed to the one that we want from the lab environment. So now I'm just going to copy this IP address out of the lab guide, paste it, and we had a little spacing problem there, and add the 7 back at the end here. And now I'm going to do escape : write quit. So this is just going to write my file back to the file system and quit out of Vim. There's other editors that you can use as well, like text editors, to edit this file if you prefer that. Personally, I prefer Vim. Now I want to make sure that these changes have applied to my file, so I'm just going to do a cat etc resolv.conf, and you can see our lab IP address has been added. Now if I navigate to the domain name that was given for this lab, I can copy this, paste it in another window, or just go info.xss.site. You will see that this is the lab web server. And I'm also able to go to things like google.com, or if I want to go back to ine.com, these things will still resolve as well. And the reason for that is because the way that we edited this file, we kept the original DNS resolution, the original domain that we're going to be resolving from in there. So first, our computer is going to look at this 10.100.13.37 to try to find the info.xss.site. And then, but if it's like google.com, this will not know what google.com is, but this one will. So it will allow you to resolve both types of host names. So we have the info.xss.site here, and also we can go to google.com as well. So I hope that helps you, and I hope you're able to follow those instructions. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments. Always happy to help. Thanks.